There is this famous story that years before Capablanca became a world champion, Alekhine stated something like he was very happy that he took a place behind Capablanca in a tournament because he considered him his main rival for the world title. And people asked him, but why? Lasker is a world champion so far. And he said, yes, but in a short time it will be Capablanca. And probably by then already he had started to study Capablanca style rather well, and as I said, he even developed a side that of his style that was similar to Capablanca's, the simple positions. It was interesting that in the match that allowed Alekhine to take over the crown from his rival in 27. There was a very important game, the 21st, which I considered to a certain extent to be decisive, although the match lasted for 34 games, in which he managed to defeat Capablanca on his trademark territory, this kind of simple position. And the game was actually very similar in many ways to his game against Grunfeld. First of all, why do I consider the 31st game decisive? Alekhine had won the 11th and 12th game of the match, getting an advantage of 1 point. And then Capablanca somehow tried to freeze the match, to kill the match. And he played super safely. Somehow he provoked a long series of draws, 8 draws, a record by that time, 8 draws in a row. It has to be known that the match was played until 6 victories without counting the draws. So he probably wanted to make Alekhine bored, to force him open his positions too much. It's hard to say what he had in mind. It is said that at some point he even fell asleep during a game, obviously in a demonstrative way, not ostentative way, not really. And this 21st game, which Alekhine won with black in a very peaceful, quiet, positional style, must have broken Capablanca's faith that he could really avoid defeat in the long run. Not only it brought another point to Alekhine, the score became 4-2 in that moment for the Russian. But it also had this psychological impact. Capablanca was defeated with his own weapon, and somehow he failed in what he wanted to kill the match by draws, draw after draw. The first moves were similar to those from the Grunfeld game. But now Alekhine deviated with a6. The same idea as in the previous game, but the move order is slightly different. Capablanca wanted to remain flexible. In the next games in which Capablanca employed this system, he exchanged on d5, and he got strong pressure every time. It was mainly because in those years the canvas structure was not so well worked out for black as now. Instead of the regrouping we know now, black used to play something like 98 and try some simplifications this way. But okay, this is another story. So now we have h3. And since there is no queen on c2, Alekhine didn't consider it necessary to spend the tempo on rook e8. And actually, Capablanca, I can say that he retreated with his bishop to a relatively passive square. It's actually not passive because we know that if the bishop on a2 or on b1 does not deliver mate, then it needs a lot of effort to bring it back effectively into play. And Capablanca probably saw that the bishop stands well on e2, and later it would neutralize the pressure of the b7 bishop with bishop e2 f3. But actually, although he changed something from the previous game, from Grunfeld's play, he will little by little do exactly the same mistakes as Grunfeld, and the game will have many similarities from this point of view. Knight d4. Well, he could have exchanged queens and aimed for a draw, but maybe he had faith in himself that, well, with knight d4 followed by bishop f3, maybe he saw that there is a weak square on c6. Maybe he evaluated the position too statically, who knows. In any case, well, now after b4, maybe he expected something like knight c e4. Maybe he thought that, well, actually, here there is a problem now. If knight takes e4, then rook takes e8 to create some lack of coordination. And anyway, if at some point the f6 knight moves, then the bishop's exchange lead to the weakness of the c5 square. So who knows what he really had in mind. But the problem is that Alekhine played a very strong move, knight cd7. Well, it is strong because it avoids these kind of small dynamic problems, and it's even stronger because it shows that black knows what the critical squares are. The knight is heading to either b6 or e5 in order to occupy one of the vital squares. And what is interesting and actually a little bit paradoxical is that Capablanca did not understand the same thing, because he could have played knight b3 and, for instance, if knight b6, knight a5, and okay, there are no special reasons for either side to claim an advantage here. The position is very balanced. Both sides are controlling the important squares, and the rest of the board there is nothing going on. So somehow Capablanca, okay, when playing bishop g3, he probably thought that should cause some trouble with the queen development. He was trying to maintain some dynamic initiative in a position that was basically static. The queen side was the main issue, and he failed to understand that. So knight b6. Once again, knight b3 would have been the normal move, but queen b3 already is an active move. Okay, it looks nice because after rook fd1, white has some sort of pressure, and well, it is known. For instance, there is this famous story by Kronstein that okay, it can be that one of the sides has a wonderful position, but if he cannot find a good square for the queen, then the position would be not that good actually. So maybe Capablanca relied on the fact that there are no easy ways to develop the black queen, but maybe he underestimated knight d5. Actually, there are no dangers on the d file for black. The pressure is not real because he has the square for his minor pieces, and the queen feels quite comfortable. Now, actually, in case of like this, Alekhine intended to well, queen c2 is better, to develop like this with strong initiative. Rook c8 is coming, and then knight a4, bishop c4. The vital squares are under control, and white is well behind with the fight for the symmetrical c5 and a5 squares. So after knight d5, Capablanca plays bishop f3. For the time being, it creates a pin, but again, it's a dynamic approach. The main problem is that in the long run, this move will cause the exchange of the light square bishops, and we know already from Grunfeld's experience that this is not what white should be proud of. So rook c4, I mean, the bishop has taken up some squares, but has given away some others. Yes. The plan is to play queen a8 and unpin the bishop, and then keep carrying out the plan, the main plan. Knight e4, queen c8. Queen c8 is important because it keeps the c5 square under control. Somehow white is not in time to generate counterplay against those squares. Now queen b1 would have maintain some chances to keep equality, although black has ways of maintaining some pressure. But after rook takes e4, now already this is a problem for black. All his pieces are placed, let's say, they look to cooperate very well between them, but the fact is that they are not threatening anything, and they are also vulnerable. For instance, the e4 knight is somehow in the way of this bishop, and actually black is well ahead in the fight for the critical squares. So knight e3. The knight returns in order to make some exchanges that make black very happy anyway. So we have the same, almost the same material as in the Grunfeld game. Okay, Grunfeld has two knights. Here Capablanca has one knight and one bishop, but the kind of domination is very similar. And now Capablanca tried to free his position with a4, but this arrives relatively late. Bishop f6. He cannot maintain stability in the center. Knight f3, and now bishop b2. Bishop b2 is a very nice move. It wins the tempo. Black's idea is to play e5, e4, and of course he would not like to play e5 with bishop on f6. So bishop e2 as an intermediate move prepares in a very effective way this gain of space. We are familiar with e5, e4 from the game against Grunfeld, actually. Okay, Alekhine also gives some tactical lines, because bishop b2 also forces white to take a decision which is the less dangerous continuation. Here there would be this first line which would ensure black a strong initiative. Again, we see this perfect control of many squares ensured by they control 4 squares, the whole area of the board, and this would make the b4 pawn very weak. Okay, so Capablanca understood that he could not fight for the d file yet, so he played rook e1. There is another instructive line that Alekhine gives. If it is the knight a3, there are some problems on the back rank. White has to play this, but then black can speculate continue to speculate with the weakness of the back rank, and now the a pawn would be simply too strong. It is somehow strange that white's minor pieces are controlling an area which is not really important, while the main events are taking part on the queen side. So let's go back to rook e1. Now rook d8 takes over the control of the central file. h3, not much to be done actually. e5, rook b1. Finally, now this is possible because black has an escape. White has an escape to h2. If e4, then queen d3 would leave the b4 pawn to black's mercy. So Capablanca tried to keep it defended with rook b1, e4. And now, okay, it's already clear that black has space advantage, better coordination. White should have played some ugly move like, well, knight e1, I'm not really happy about it. Maybe knight h2, hoping for knight f1, but still, the knight is passive. Black's position is very active, and white is obviously struggling. But just like Grünfeld, Capablanca thought he should try to solve his problems by some small combination, forced maneuver. We don't have to forget that Capablanca was also considered to be the grandmaster of the small combinations, coming as a crowning of the well carried game. But the problem is that here his hopes proved not realistic after knight takes e3. Again, in a position where black's extra piece looked to be vulnerable, like after f takes a4 in the Grünfeld game. Here the dynamism accumulated by black's pieces is simply killing. Capablanca resigned because after this sequence he would lose the rook. So it's interesting because Alekhine, according to his own confessions, had spent years preparing for this match, studying Capablanca's weak spots, strong points, and Capablanca. And okay, we can see from this game, we can see that he played better than his rival. He played better in this simple position. As for Capablanca, it was obvious that from the game Grünfeld Alekhine, the maximum he could have examined was the opening, if he did that. Because he played this a3 and went with the bishop to e2, he changed something. But otherwise, he didn't improve a bit. He actually lost even more painfully than Grünfeld to a certain extent. So, well, we can see that for those years, Alekhine's preparation was decades ahead of his closer rivals.